Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya has dismissed as misleading claims before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry that he is friends with Northwest businessman Brown Mokhotsi. Sibiya told the Commission that his first interaction with Mokhotsi was in December 2024 when Mokhotsi allegedly informed him that he was being privately investigated by his subordinates in an attempt to destroy his police career. He added that their first face-to-face meeting took place during the ANC's January 8th event in Cape Town last year. Witness testimony before the Commission has revealed that Mokhotsi had influence over some of Sibiya's alleged dealings with the so-called Big Five cartel, which is said to be linked to tender fraud, drug trafficking, extortion, hijackings, as well as contract killings.
On the occasions where I met Mokhotsi, we did not discuss any official policing business, nor did we discuss any operational, investigative or intelligence-related matters pertaining to the SABs. Our interactions were not of an official nature, nor did they involve the exercise of any police function, the exchange of confidential information or any discussion related to my official duties and responsibilities. But safe to say that I did explain that mostly when I met Mokhotsi, he informed me about the danger that I'm facing, be careful, you are being investigated.
All right, let's analyze today's proceedings. We're joined by Acting Assistant Dean of Research in the Faculty of Humanities at the Tshwane University of Technology, Professor Kholofelo Rakubu. Prof, good evening to you. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for talking to us. So, General Sibiya, right, says he's not friends with Brown Mokhotsi, denies receiving money from Kat Madlanga, says that he isn't that close to Witness F. Briefly share your thoughts on his evidence so far.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. What an interesting testimony, which with limited substantiation. Unlike other testimonies where there will be chain of emails, text, and so many other verifiable evidence, with this one, it was a categorical denial, distancing himself from association with controversial figures. And he neutralized the testimony by diverting, by distancing himself, and also tried a denial delegitimization strategy wherein you neutralize to also push back and appear as a victim or place yourself as a victim of political power struggle within the SAPS. But then with that neutralization strategy, he then decided to bring on board a particular recording to deny responsibility and neutralize previous witness accusation, and again to also show deeper factional struggle within the SAPS, to shift a narrative, to try and appear as a victim, to illustrate how this is all a witch hunt, and also to sway the commission into a different direction, which I don't think South Africa expected. But largely, it wasn't about proving guilt or innocence, right? More about him maintaining his policing stature, also about his image, because he tried to then delegitimize previous witnesses' testimony so that we can have a different look at him, because he knows we've heard a lot. He knows there's more implicating evidence. That is why tomorrow will be very interesting, because we expect the commission then to take him to task with evidence on the table. And he has to then bring verifiable evidence to refute the allegations on the table. But a very defensive, self-centered, a bit self-centered witness. It's about him being a good man. It's about him being targeted. He's not friends with whoever. He met people for the first time and they never discussed any SAPS related matters, which is very strange.
Yeah, and you speak about that recording, right? Let's go there, because this is an interesting piece of information, because you think about the Divisional Commissioner, for example, for Detective and Forensic Services, that Lieutenant General Hilda Sentumule last year. She criticized the disbandment of the PKTT and saying that the SAPS owes South Africans an apology. But now today we hear a recording that, you know, is purporting to be of her, where she is saying that the PKTT in fact is not what it is meant out to be, and everything else that it had to say. Also going as far as claiming that Sentumule personally benefited from Madlanga paying for her BBL, among other claims that he is making. So do you think, based off of what we've heard so far, she needs to possibly come back to answer to some of what has been said?
She definitely has to come back, because with today's testimony, that drags her to become centerpiece in today's testimony. But then decision to then come and present that audio, it's now you scratch my back, I scratch yours, because now the Sibiya now got to understand where Sentumule stands with him. So, but then we now understand how evidence itself becomes a weapon in institutional power games. The minute Sibiya decided to record Sentumule, this reflects how Sibiya was aware of the power struggle, was aware of the issues within the SAPS, and then had to record this. But then also, this takes away so much from Sentumule, because but again, this also heightens the commission's task, because now when you hear such a recording, looking into the credibility of the witness, then you now zoom into contextual ambiguity, right? A recording only captures words, not intent, right? Then without corroborating evidence, interpretation can be contested. And again, with a recording, it becomes a selective closure. If Sibiya then choose part of the conversation to present, question of completeness and manipulation may arise. But again, this is up to the commission to dig deeper, to verify the authenticity of this recording. Why this recording? But besides this recording, we still lack verifiable evidence on the table that will then deal with issues of ties, issues of kickbacks, issues of association. We've not received much counter arguments, justifiable counter arguments that suggest indeed Sibiya is not involved, is not doesn't know certain people, or is not friends with certain people. For now, we come out with only one. And if indeed Sentumule comes back, she'll have to then come counter-argue with evidence with regard to what Sibiya puts on the table. But mostly, Sibiya presented a narrative. He did not provide with limited substantiation, and the commission cannot largely rely on a narrative, right? You have to justify, you have to provide verifiable evidence. With so much expertise in the SAPS, we expected so much that will then come in to prove that certain officers were indeed after him, that will then prove that certain officers were corrupt, that will then discard all these ideas around Madlanga. But we got nothing. It's just through a Sentumule under the bus, which is not much to assist and redeem him at this point.
And it'll be interesting to see what else they say tomorrow, because even today there seemed to be a struggle for him to even talk about that report that speaks about where exactly was the disbandment call have been made in that particular document. A struggle there to be able to point us there. But as you say, let's wait to see tomorrow if the commission is going to be putting more before him as far as some of what it has as concerned Acting Assistant Dean of Research in the Faculty of Humanities at Tshwane University of Technology. That is Professor Kholofelo Rakubu speaking to us about the Madlanga Commission. And of course, remember, it continues tomorrow. We'll be bringing it for you live here on SABC News.